Today's date is April 4th, 2013, and this interview is taking place at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. For the record, can you please state your name and birthday?
Yes, David Roland, and June 20th, 1985.
My name is Rose, and this is Shamaria. The interviewer is a student within the Urban Scholars Program of UMass Boston and is affiliated with the Veterans History Project Student Edition. The first half of the interview will be conducted by me, Rose Feliceman, and the second half will be conducted by Shamaria Robinson. The interviewer are both students with the Urban Scholars Program and is affiliated with the Veterans History Project Edition. What branch did you serve in?
The United States Marine Corps.
What was the highest rank you achieved?
I am currently a staff sergeant.
Staff sergeant. Where did you serve?
Ooh, that's all over. As far as stateside, I've been Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, Camp Pendleton, 29 Palms, California. It's pretty much as far as stateside, and then deployments I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan.
Do you enjoy the traveling?
Depends on where I'm going. If I'm staying stateside, it can be fun, but I enjoy getting out and seeing the country, so yes.
Why did you decide to enlist yourself?
Because I think that every able-bodied male that is born and raised in the country and has a chance to serve this country for all the benefits benefits and liberties that we get that a lot of countries don't. I think they should at least do something to serve the country. So.
Do you have any special reason why you chose the branch that you did?
I wanted to join the hardest and challenge myself. I felt as if I joined the other branches that I would always wonder, what if, or what could I have been a Marine? And I have some friends who also they joined the Army, they joined the Air Force, and I would just always hear back from them, man, I wish I would have joined the Marines, I wish I would have done it. And I was like, all right, well, I know what I'm going to do, so that's what I did.
Do you remember the first day of your service?
Which one? Before boot camp or after? Or during boot camp? The Marine Corps is interesting because no matter what you do, no matter what stage you're in, it's always the same. It's always shock and awe at first, and then they slowly develop you into whatever you're in. The first day I joined, I do remember, I went down to MEPS that weekend, and then I just remember going back to high school with my Marine t-shirt, like proud, like yeah, like I'm joining the Marine Corps, and I was a junior in high school then. So a lot of people then don't know what they're doing with their lives. They don't know what school they're going to, whatever. And it just felt kind of good knowing, hey, I know what I'm doing with my life after high school, and not only that, I'm joining the Marine Corps. So. Did
you get any support from your family?
They didn't want me to. It's. Eventually, after talking to them and having the 2 years of high school to kind of try it on to let them see what it's about and stuff like that, they eventually just, I think they agreed to or they gave in. Not sure which one. So yeah, I mean, I guess they supported. They didn't stop me from doing it. So that's.
Can you tell me what boot camp was like for you?
Well, for me, it was honestly kind of a letdown. Not a letdown in the sense of any weaker than I thought or anything, but because I had those 2 years to prepare for it, I mean, almost every day leading up to it, by the time I actually got there and went through it, I was so well prepared. It was just, kind of like when you prepare really well for a test. It's a breeze. It was kind of like that. But overall, it was, I mean, obviously one of the most life-changing things I've gone through. So. The question, did I enjoy it?
Yes.
Or what do I remember? Did I enjoy it? I mean, yeah, it's something that I still remember and still keep in touch with some kids I went to boot camp with, even today, and it's 10 years later, so, I enjoyed it.
Did you have any special ways of coping from being away from home? And that's another thing I think that the Marine Corps does a very good job of, is you're so focused on what you have to do to get through the day. It's really, I mean, I won't say you forget about it, but you're so enveloped in what you're doing every single day that's what you're focused on doing. And the 1 minute that you start thinking about home is
you're messing up or getting yelled at, because every minute of your life is so controlled there, where it's what they want you to do and how they want you to do it, that if you start thinking about home, you kind of forget about the task at hand. You know, the letters from home, I think, are a huge help, but in a way that's also surreal too, because, you know, you're living a new life now, and you know, your parents are saying, oh, you know, your cousins are doing this, you know, your brothers and sisters are doing that. It's hard to imagine it when you're just, you know, reading it in a letter, and then to go back home, it's, you know, it's like it is a different world because you're a different person. So it's just, as far as coping, it's just making it to the end, I would say. You know, knowing that, you know, 3 months later I'm going to graduate and become a Marine. That's your primary goal, and you just do everything you can to get to it.
So I know you said you served and you were deployed to Iraq.
Yes.
What exactly in Iraq do you remember?
The people in Iraq. You know, you know, I joined at a time when, you know, the war was first starting up, and there was still a lot of strong emotions from 9/11 and, you know, toward the Middle Eastern people as a whole. And, you know, to see on the news and to hear bad things about the Iraqi people, and, you know, they're all terrorists and stuff like that, you know, for me to actually go there and meet them and, you know, live with them and be with them and stuff, they're the most amazing, caring group of people you'll meet. And it really opened my eyes, because, you know, I grew up in Cincinnati, so, you know, my scope of the world was just Cincinnati up until I left for the Marine Corps. And, you know, seeing their lifestyle and seeing how they lived and stuff like that, and you know, how loving they were to us. You know, we were there, you know, doing our thing, but at the same time we were intruding on their lives, and for them to be as open and as loving and caring as they were was just, you know, it's amazing. I wish more people were like that in America. So yeah, the people, definitely, to answer your question.
What was your job or assignment?
I did a couple deployments. So I mean, my primary job, I guess, has always been communications there, so setting up radio networks, computer networks, stuff like that. But I've also done a lot of, you know, I've been a machine gunner on top of the truck. I've been standing post on a tower, you know, guarding our compound that we lived in. You know, I've kind of done almost everything I think you would want to do. So yeah, a little bit of everything, but overall primary is communications. You know, radios, satellites, computers, stuff like that.
Did you have any favorites?
Favorites? I love being out on patrol and being, you know, getting out and seeing the people and meeting people. That's, you know, to me, that's the thing that, you know, I know like 10 years from now, even now, the kids coming to Marine Corps now, they'll never get to experience that. And it's, I mean, you know, other Marines will agree that, you know, getting out and seeing the people is just, it's amazing, and kind of opens your eyes a little bit to how there's a whole other world out there, you know. So.
Can you tell me a couple memorable moments during your experiences?
Yeah, there's, I was just talking about one the other day. This last tour went to Afghanistan, we worked very closely with the Jordanian army, and you know, I went out with them a couple times and stuff like that, and we would always stop at the shops and stuff like that. Well, one day we stopped at a shop, and I picked up these 2 drafts just looking at them. I'm like, oh wow, you know, they were made of bronze, or yeah, bronze, I think. You know, they were handcrafted by whoever at whatever country. And one of my Jordanian friends, he's like, oh, you like? I'm like, yeah, they're pretty cool, you know. And I just kind of put them away, not thinking about it. But a week before I left, because I knew I was leaving, I actually left Afghanistan early because of my grandmother. A week before I left was like coming up on Christmas time, and you know, he came up to me. He's like, Daoud, you know, it's my name in Arabic. He's like, you know, Christmas. I'm like, yeah, Christmas, great. He's like, no, you come Christmas. And I was like, okay. And you know, it kind of filtered through. He wanted me to come to his room, so I went to his room after I got off work, and he had those 2 drafts there for me. He's like, here at Christmas. I was like, blown away. The thing that blew me away about it though is that, you know, it was $40 a piece for each one of those, American dollars. In Jordanian dinar, it's 80, you know, dinar pretty much, roughly. So this guy spent 160 dinar on me for 2 gifts that, overall, I probably really didn't like it. It was just kind of cool. They were neat, and these guys they only make 60 dinar a month, and their commanders and stuff like that can take money away from them. Stuff like their pay system's not like ours. It's not guaranteed money for them. So this guy probably took half a year's salary for him and bought me 2 gifts, and like I'm a grown man, I'm a Marine, but it brought tears to my eyes. So that's definitely probably the most memorable moment of any deployment I've had. So.
Were you awarded any special medals?
On my first deployment, I got a Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal, a personal decoration, just because I did a lot of, like I said before, I do a lot more than just my job. So, the major of the task force felt I deserved it, so I got that. And then on this last deployment to Afghanistan, I got it as well, pretty much for the same reason. I kind of just did a little bit of everything. So, that's just my work ethic. I try to do as much as I can to help anybody. So, it's people think I deserve it, they give it to me. So, I don't really have a choice.
Were there any casualties in your units?
In my first unit, we had a couple, IEDs. Well, your definition of casualties, I'm assuming it's deaths, right? Or is it injuries too?
Injuries.
Okay, yeah. We had a lot of severe injuries, I guess, but as far as deaths, we had 2 on the task force I was on, and then on the work up to this last deployment, we had some, or actually throughout the whole deployment, we had some pretty major injuries from IEDs and stuff like that, but no deaths. No deaths on the last deployment to Afghanistan. So.
How did you cope with your environment and everything about the whole?
Kind of like the boot camp thing. I think for me the best thing to do in any situation, whether it's boot camp or being deployed or whatever, is just fully envelop yourself in that situation and kind of focus on the task you have at hand. That's being and realizing that other Marines depended on what I brought to the table. So knowing that if I failed in any way or slipped up in any way, someone else would have to pick up the slack. I think that's probably the biggest factor that drives you to do what you have to do. Is knowing that if you don't make it through, then someone else won't either. So you kind of just push yourself and do it.
Did you feel pressured or stressed in any ways?
Yes, but to me, I'm the type of person where I kind of thrive on pressure and stress. I think anytime you go out and the adrenaline of knowing that this could be it for me, this could be the last day I wake up, I don't know, but it's for some people, I guess they would go the other way, but for myself personally, it was just if I don't give it my all and do what I have to do, then or without that stress or without that thing pushing me, I probably would have not tried as hard. So.
Was there anything special you did for good luck?
Not really. The thing that I always try to do before each patrol is tell every Marine thank you and that I love them, because there's without those guys it's you're by yourself. So they're busting their ass and doing what they're supposed to do just as much as you are, and without them your job's a lot harder than it has to be. So just tell them thanks and do their job, and if they screw up I'm going to yell at them. So just let them know they're appreciated. I think that's the biggest thing, because if it came down to it, I think that would be the one thing that kind of pushes them, knowing that somebody cares about them and cares about the hard work that they do. They're going to try a little bit harder. So
you guys depended on each other?
Yeah, that's, and especially with what we do, I think, it's, like I said, if somebody's not doing their job, then someone else is picking up their slack. We're, collectively as a team, they're picking up the slack, and it's not good. So definitely, the stress factor is it pushes everybody, I think, and not just stress but fear as well. So maybe the stress of fear. I mean, you can label it probably a million different ways, but I think it's always a good thing and not a bad thing. Because if you don't have it, then you get complacent, and that's when people make mistakes.
Do you recall any particular humorous or unusual events?
All the time. I've had the privilege of always pretty much working with the foreign military, and you have men who spend their entire lives not knowing what an iPod is, not knowing what a phone is, not knowing television, and essentially that is their form of entertainment. So when I'm as an American thrown into a situation where I don't have TV or television or whatever, it's amazing just to sit back and watch these guys perform. They provide the entertainment for you. They do it for each other too. So it would probably a particular moment that was funny or humorous. Is that the main thing? I don't want to give a long story and a bad example. Probably the time that one of our police stations went under attack. It was serious, but it was also funny because every time I ran a drill, I said, no matter what, in 7 minutes, you have your gear on and the trucks are ready to go and we're ready to go. So on Christmas Day in 2008, one of our stations got attacked, and we were responding to it, and I sounded alarm. And combat's a funny thing, or being deployed or any kind of high stress situation. It's always funny, I think, how no matter how chaotic it is, everything's in slow motion. And it was, what in real time is probably 5 minutes seems like 5 hours sometimes. And responding to that call, I sounded alarm, and while I was going through the checklist in my head of what all needed to be done, all I can remember is 2 of my guys and then 4 of the Iraqi police and army guys were running out the trucks, and they were literally just in their underwear with their battle gear on, because that's how I trained. I said, hey, I don't care what the situation is, as long as you have your gear and you're ready to go, we're hitting the road and we're going. And that's how they took it, literally. So, and even my guys, I didn't expect my guys to take me that literally, but because of the language barrier, that's how they took it. So they were literally in underwear with their fight jacket, their rifle, just ready to go. I remember laughing, but at the same time, you just can't help it. But like I said, everything's so slow motion. It's a controlled chaos anytime you're in that situation, and it was very, once we got done with going down, taking care of it, and being done, it was just something that we just laugh about, for a week or 2 afterwards. So.
What did you think of your fellow officers or soldiers?
I mean, I'm still alive. I'm still here. So, if I had the time or the opportunity to thank each and every one of them every single day, I probably would. It's as a leader myself, or as a Marine, you're always going to have your good and your bad, but how you deal with each one of them indicates basically whether you succeed or fail what you do. And the one key thing I've learned is if you have a good Marine or a bad Marine, even a bad person or a bad Marine has good qualities. You just use those qualities for good. So and as far as officers, you have your good officers and your bad officers, and if you have a bad officer, okay, then I know as a leader that's not how I want to be. So you just, in essence, you learn good things from them as well. So, I mean, overall, I've been, very blessed, and I've had good leaders and I've had good Marines. Otherwise, things probably wouldn't turn out the way they have.
Did you keep a personal diary or any similar record of your experience?
I'm a huge history guy. I've always wanted to, but somehow I've never done it. Same with taking pictures. I always take a camera with me, but somehow I only come back from 9-month, year-long deployment with like 4 pictures on my camera. So no, I didn't. Looking back, I wish I would have. This interview would probably be a lot easier to reminisce and think about things. But yeah, no, I didn't. I probably should have.
What was the food like?
Oh, depends on where you are. If you're on a Marine base, there's good Marine bases, good bad bases. Some of the more populated bases have, the better air, mainly the airfield bases, because they have all the supplies that come in there. They had catered food. It was, in some cases, better than a lot of restaurants you eat at here. But as far as me personally, I've always kind of been not near those bases, unfortunately. I lived with Iraqis essentially for just over a year, and we ate Iraqi food. We slept with them. We did everything they did, and the first 2 weeks is a huge adjustment period because your body's not used to it and stuff like that. But
what was the food like?
It depends on where you're stationed. A lot of the bigger bases that have the flight lines where the planes can come in with supplies, stuff like that, it's really good. They even have catered companies for the most part. It's really, really good and better than some of the food I eat back here. But other parts of the country, they're eating just MREs every day, so I can't imagine that would be too good unless you like MREs like me. So then I guess you're pretty lucky. But for where I was personally, it was we lived with Iraqis, we slept with them, we lived their life, and for about 2 weeks it takes getting used to because the way they prepare their food. But after that, it's actually really, really good to the point where again, one of those eye-opening experiences for me that I wouldn't have otherwise. I actually, if I'm in the area new to it, I'll try to find a Middle Eastern restaurant. I'll go eat it because it's really pretty tasty for me. So.
Did you have a favorite meal in Iraq?
Yes, kebabs. They have it's sheep or goat. Not really sure which one, but I think they tell you whatever because it's really interesting there because food to them is that the bond that holds people together, and that they do their best to prepare it as amazingly as they can, and it's when it's offered to you, it's a huge, more so than shaking hands or hugging. It's it's really a bonding period. So the kebab is by far the best thing. It's I wish I could find it more places.
Did you have plenty of supplies and equipment?
We had enough. That's another thing as a Marine, I take pride on is because we're, in the grand scheme of all the military branches, we're kind of like the stepchild of them all because we are a department of the Navy. We're not our own department, we don't get the most funding, we don't get the most gear. But I mean, we always make do with what we have, and it's looking back on it, and even going forward, it's something that, especially going forward now because of budget cuts, we have to do more with less. But there's I almost rather not have more than what I need because I think if I'm trying to do an analogy, but I think. If you ace a test when you don't have all the resources, or when it requires you to do a lot of the thinking and a lot of the scheming and planning to do it, I think there's a lot of personal pride that comes with it when you get it completed and you do the job. And I think that's always the case. We've always had enough. I mean, I don't think there was ever a point where we didn't have anything to where it affected the mission or whatever, but there's always, there's times where you definitely have to make ends meet, and that's what we do. So.
Did you carry any personal items on you from home?
Not really. We have a saying in the Marine Corps, ounces is pounds, and every little thing adds up. And when you're already carrying 230 pounds of just gear, that the digital camera sometimes on the long patrols and stuff like that, you feel it. So you try to. And even the gear we're supposed to take, you try to skimp on it as much as you can, and in respect to the mission you're getting ready to do. So I never really did. I think it's always, I don't want to get damaged or lost. You know, it's something I would always keep back, you know, on the base or in the compound because I didn't want to lose it. But, you know, pictures and stuff like that, you kind of, you know, to kind of remind you of home and you know, not make you miss it as much, I guess, or try to make it as normal as you can. You know, anything you do, I think for me, the one constant thing's always been a guitar, because you know, no matter what, for me, you know, music's always been there in my life, and it's kind of a big thing. So when I get stressed, when I get angry, when I do whatever, I play guitar, and it kind of takes me away from where I'm at. So that's probably, you know, I think I owe Les Paul part of my paycheck or something. So, because without him, I'd probably be pretty stressed.
What do you plan on doing after the service?
Law enforcement. Probably on the federal level, not so much the state or city level. Because for me, you know, all I've known is the military lifestyle, so I think going into anything that doesn't have that military regiment to it or that structure, I think I would have some severe coping issues. Having a civilian boss that, you know, when I get stressed out, I can't scream at the top of my lungs about it. You know, that bridge I don't think is gapped very well, even in today's world, which is somewhat surprising. So, yeah, definitely law enforcement is probably the only thing I'll feel halfway normal doing. So.
Do you plan to join any veterans organizations?
Yes, I'm already a member of the VFW. I'm a lifetime member of that. You know, it kind of goes into the reason for like why I joined. It's also now, especially as I get further in my military career, it's, you know, what can I do to help, you know, the people that are serving now or will be serving when I'm not. You know, it's a sidebar thing to the law enforcement as I plan on getting into politics. I don't know to what extent or whatever, but I'm definitely probably going to be one of the loudest voices in whatever area I am for, you know, veterans benefits and, you know, veterans rights, because there are, you know, sadly a lot of things I think in this country that, you know, have been forgotten about, to include, you know, even the Vietnam vets and stuff. You know, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, these guys went through that nobody should ever have to do or have to deal with, and it's like, you know, to an extent, a lot of people have forgot about that. And I mean, even now with you know, Afghanistan, Iraq, a lot of vets who've gone through there now, because the sting of it and the, you know, the brashness of it is over. You know, a lot of people, I think, tend to forget, you know, what a lot of these guys, you know, went through. And you know, it's unless you have those people being that voice and those people making that push, it's not going to change. So, you know, whatever I have to do to do that and to bring awareness to it, I'm definitely going to do it.
You mentioned your organization name is VFW.
Yeah,
Could you state what that means?
Just the Veteran of Foreign Wars. And, they've been around for a minute, so you know, basically it's open to anybody that's served in foreign soil, you know, deployed to foreign soil, and it's you know, they have monthly meetings, you know, and basically they are one of those organizations that fight for veterans' rights. You know, if they feel there's something they can do to better the, you know, veterans as a whole, then that's, you know, they put their best foot forward and they do it. You know, unfortunately, I can't really attend monthly meetings right now because, you know, I work almost every day. But yeah, they're definitely probably going to be one of the bigger organizations I get involved with. But, you know, it's I have to wait and see until I can be a full-scale veteran, and then I'll decide. So.
Has your military experience so far influenced your thinking about war?
No. Because of the history person I am and because of the type of person I am, I think to an extent I've always thought war is necessary sometimes. I mean, when you take all the diplomatic steps and, you know, a country or a nation leaves you with no other choice, then that's what you have to do. And because America is the greatest country in the world, there's this unwritten, you know, sense of responsibility for our country to look out for countries that can't look out for themselves, or to defend other countries that can't defend themselves. And you know, it comes at a cost, but I think everyone that joins up understands what that cost is. And you know, I think everyone joins because they understand they're joining something for a purpose bigger than themselves. And you know, as America, you know, being that world superpower, we have that responsibility. You know, we have the responsibility of protecting those countries and defending those countries. So, you know, as well as defending ourselves, but I don't think any country is smart enough to mess with us, so we'll be okay.
How did your service and experiences so far affected your life?
It has been my life. I mean, you know, it's kind of one of the things that almost pushed me to get out and end it, because I haven't known any other life. I mean, other than growing up and being a kid and being a teenager, you know, every day has been the military for me. And, you know, it's to live, I guess, a normal life is kind of, I wonder what it's like sometimes, but at the same time, it's made me who I am. And I mean, I'm succeeding at it so far, so to kind of go somewhere and start all over and live a completely different life, I think that would be unwise. So, I mean, it's pretty much made me who I am as far as how I decide how I live my life, how I do things, and what I do and when I do it. So it's, you know, it is a lifestyle. It's not a job for me. So, yeah.
What are some good and bad things that you feel about the military life? The good things you feel about?
The good thing, depends on where you are, I think, and what phase. You know, 10 years later for me, I'm at that phase where, you know, I could go on and do other things, or I could stay and serve. But, I mean, overall, I think the good thing about it is again, it's one of those things that kind of creates a foundation for who you are as a person. And, you know, it's one of the few jobs in the world where, you know, the responsibility level and the task and responsibilities on a single person matter so greatly. You know, any other job you go to, it's, you know, you have 5, 6, 7 other people doing the same job you're doing. So, you know, your job, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, the sense of importance probably isn't there. Whereas, you know, no matter what you're doing in the military, it's, you know, your job's important. So I think that's one of the good things. And the bad thing is, you know, obviously not having that normal life, or being with your family, or being in the area you grew up in or lived in. So, you know, but again, it's something that, you know, when you join, it's expected. So, you know, when you commit to it, you know, you hold yourself to that commitment, and, you know, it really doesn't bother you too much. So.
Do you plan on attending any reunions going out of the service?
Yes. You know, I'm an old guy in Marine Corps standards. There's already a couple reunions planned for, you know, some of the first units I've been on. You know, especially the teams I've been on. You know, there's only 9 or 10 of us on each team, and you get pretty close. So, yeah, definitely, it's one of those bonds that, you know, like I said earlier in the interview, it's, you know, even guys from boot camp I still stay in touch with. It's truly one of the bonds that I don't think ever goes away. And, you know, unless people have gone through it, or they do what you do, they never truly understand. So yeah, definitely going to hopefully a lot of reunions to come. I don't know, but we'll see.
Is there anything you would like to add that we have not covered in this interview? Any other stories, thoughts, or experiences?
Not really. I think it covers a pretty broad spectrum. You know, other than to other than to thank you guys for being here, and hopefully something I said inspires you or helps you to do what you want to do and accomplish in life. Obviously, I think from what I've read and what I've understood, you guys are on the right path. So I would hope you guys keep pushing forward and succeed in life. So
this concludes our interview.